Well, that's a pretty powerful question because that's what I'm working on getting to next.
Yeah.
Because in Canada, we have a group called the Famous Five. And the Famous Five in 1929 had women declared as persons, and that had to go through the UK for us to be declared as persons. So 2029 will be the 100th anniversary. And these five women in their day did something immensely important and significant. My mission now is, in our midst, there are women like the Famous Five who could step up and do amazing things to make the world a better place. And so what I'm hoping to do is to find a way to inspire more women to step up and step out and step into their unique ability to make that kind of difference that the Famous Five did almost 100 years ago. One in particular, she's got a fabulous, this quote I share frequently. It is never retreat, never explain, never apologize. Get the job done and let them howl. Well, how many women do you know today who've got that kind of moxie that they're prepared to really put themselves out and charge ahead?
Yeah, exactly. I know. And it's funny to think that as I hear you say that, there's a horror that sort of came up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's 100 years ago?
Yeah.
Where women are considered, what was the term you used? People?
Persons.
Persons. That's just blows my mind. I'm like, did she say, yeah, person? Yeah, but personhood, I mean, that's like 100 years ago is just not that long ago.
Right, and women couldn't vote. Yeah, they couldn't vote. If you weren't a person, you couldn't vote. But the person who I really admire, too, of course, but one in particular, is Melinda French Gates. Like, we know what her life was, and we know what her life is, and we know what caused her to be doing what she's doing. But she is really investing in really important things. Obviously, she's got lots of wealth to do that, but she's doing it. She didn't have to do it public, so she's very much a role model. Same thing with Mackenzie Scott. And, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that Elon Musk requested that she stop investing in all those women's organizations. And then she said, fine, I'll just double my contributions. Like, that's what we need is more women, because the world needs more women in leadership roles. We saw that family photo in Egypt, a month or so, 2 months ago. I think there was one female leader, and that's the Prime Minister of Italy or President of Italy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know, like, my relationship to leadership. My personal. I was the oldest of six boys. I was just out. Everything was. It was like you had to be a leader, whether I wanted to or not. It was something that you had to do. I wonder what does it look like for. I'm not saying that was successful either. I guess my point is that there's sort of, as a man, you're sort of inherently expected to be a leader.
Right. Yeah.
There's sort of a gap there between that and women. What attracts women to this idea of leadership?
Well, I would think if you asked any woman if she'd like to be a leader, I would find it surprising if very few said no, because I think every woman in her own world would love to be a leader. It's just that perhaps they don't know how or they don't know where. And they certainly don't want to have any criticism. Like, they don't want to stick their neck out and have people criticizing them. But at the same time, I think, for example, one wealth advisor used to sponsor a lot of my events. And during COVID, I read in the New York Times that there were different YOLO events happening because, of course, people were thinking more about death. So I said, well, let's do a YOLO event, and we'll invite 4 women leaders to take 10 minutes and share their YOLO. And the key to success was they weren't interviewed. And I said, what woman would not mind having 10 minutes uninterrupted to talk to an audience?
Yeah.
We ended up doing 5 of them because the women in the first group, I think there were about 45 there, they afterwards said, Nancy, if you're doing this again, I'd love to be one of the speakers. And so we just kept it going, and we found out things about people that if you had interviewed them and directed the conversation, I don't think we would have found out what we did find out. It's like, take 10 minutes and tell us who you are. Yeah. So and great stories came, really great stories. And so I think if you asked any woman to tell us their YOLO, and especially as it pertains with some smattering of flavoring or icing about leadership. They'd have some interesting things to share with you.
Yeah.